The lights fade, smoke rises, and that sound, that screaming Les Paul cutting through the air like lightning, fills the room. It's a tone no one could ever duplicate. A voice made not of words, but of fire and soul. That sound belonged to Ace Frehley, the spaceman of Kiss, a man who didn't just play guitar. He defined what rock and roll felt like. And now that sound has gone silent. Ace Frehley has passed away at the age of 74. But legends don't really die. They just take their solos somewhere higher. And tonight we remember the man whose riffs changed the universe. Before the fame, before the makeup, before the madness, there was a kid from the Bronx named Paul Daniel Frehley. He wasn't born into privilege. He wasn't groomed for fame. He was raised on grit, graffiti, and the electricity of a city that never slept. In the Bronx, he found both chaos and inspiration. His escape, a guitar, a small amplifier, and a dream that refused to die. Music became his lifeline. He'd later say, "The guitar saved my life." And for millions, that guitar became a light that guided them through their own darkness. In high school, he was just another rebellious teen, until his friends gave him a name that had stuck forever. They called him Ace because he could ace anything when it came to girls, charm or chasing what he wanted. He had swagger before he had success, but he also had demons, street fights, gang life, alcohol. He wasn't a saint, he was a survivor. A guidance counselor once told him to study graphic arts, and he was actually good at it. But deep down, Ace didn't want to paint on paper. He wanted to paint on the world with sound. December 1972. A classified ad appears in a New York newspaper. It's from a band called Kiss, looking for a lead guitarist. Ace shows up late, wearing mismatched shoes with a Marshall half-stack loaded into his mom's car. He cracks open a beer, plugs in his Les Paul, and starts to play. The song? Deuce. The second the first note hit, Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley looked at each other. They knew. They just found the final piece of the puzzle. As Gene once said, "One minute we were just a band. The next minute, with this guy named Ace Frehley, we became something undeniable." The Spaceman had landed. The early years of Kiss were chaos. Sweat, noise, and raw energy wrapped in fire and makeup. But what separated them from everyone else was Ace's guitar. That tone, thick, sharp, and dripping with attitude, became the heartbeat of their sound. On albums like Kiss, 1974, Hotter Than Hell, and Dressed to Kill, Ace wasn't just playing notes. He was telling stories. Every solo had meaning. Every bend had emotion. Fans didn't just hear Ace Frehley. They felt him. Those early albums weren't overproduced or overthought. They were dirty, loud, and beautiful. Just pure rock and roll, straight from the heart. Then came 1976, and the album Destroyer. With it came producer Bob Ezrin, a man known for his polished sound and precision. But polish doesn't mix well with lightning. Ezrin's methods clashed with Ace's soul. The wild, spontaneous magic that made Ace great was suddenly being tamed, refined, and rewritten. For the first time, Ace was told how to play. For a man who lived through instinct that felt like being caged. The result? A technically brilliant album, but one that began to drain the heart from the band. The Kiss sound was changing. And so was Ace. With fame came the pressure, and with pressure came temptation. The road, the tours, the parties, they all took their toll. Ace developed a heavy drinking habit and flirted with harder drugs. Behind the wild smile and silver boots was a man fighting insecurity and exhaustion. Even Gene Simmons once said that Ace was one of the most talented guitarists he'd ever met, but also one of the most fragile. Still, no matter how far he fell, the second he picked up a guitar, the world stopped and listened. That was his magic. That was his curse. Ace didn't just leave Kiss once. He left twice. Both times he walked away from millions of dollars, arenas full of screaming fans and a guaranteed legacy. But money never mattered to him. He cared about the music and the truth. He couldn't stand pretending to be someone else while losing himself. So he walked, and in doing so, he proved something rare in rock and roll. Sometimes the loudest thing you can do is walk away. Free from the mask, Ace went solo, releasing albums that carried his true sound, loud, unapologetic, and real. Songs like New York Groove and Rock Soldiers reminded the world that he didn't need Kiss to shine. Sure, he never filled stadiums the same way, but the people who did show up weren't fans. They were believers. Because Ace didn't just play songs, he played honesty. Ask any guitarist from the last 50 years who inspired them, and somewhere in that list you'll find Ace Frehley. Slash, Dimebag Darrell, Dave Grohl, even Eddie Van Halen once mentioned Ace as a true original. His riffs weren't about complexity, they were about feel. His solos weren't about showing off, they were about letting go. And in that, he captured the essence of what rock and roll was always meant to be: freedom, fire, and fearlessness. When news broke of Ace Frehley's passing, the rock world fell silent. Fans across the globe lit candles, turned up their speakers, and played Shock Me one more time. His family's statement said it best: "We are completely devastated and heartbroken. We surrounded him with love, prayers, and peace as he left this earth." Even in his final moments, the music never left him. It echoed in every memory, every photograph, every soul he ever touched. He was a spaceman who never stopped reaching for the stars. And now, he's finally among them. So tonight, if you want to honor Ace Frehley, don't cry. Turn the volume up, strike that first chord, and let the music live, because legends never die. They just take their solos somewhere higher. Rest in power, Ace Frehley. The universe is yours. If Ace's music ever lit a fire in your soul, if you ever raised your fist when that solo hit just right, then hit that like button, drop your favorite Ace moment in the comments, and keep his legacy alive. Because in the end, rock and roll isn't about fame, it's about freedom. And nobody embodied that better than Ace Frehley, the Spaceman.